What's up, guys, and welcome back to another man versus deer video. In today's video, I'm going to be taking these antlers and I'm going to be mounting them on this whitetail reproduction skull. Let's get after it. This is probably one of my bigger bucks to date.
Guys, I cannot believe that actually worked.
Looks like a double long shot. It was hot. Really hot. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to smack that subscribe button. Definitely like the video, and for sure leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. This is a whitetail reproduction skull from Outlaw Skulls. They make deer replica skulls. They have a couple of different sizes. The skull gets bigger, the pedicle base gets bigger. Really solid product. Before we jump into the video and I mount these antlers to this, I'm going to tell you how I landed here and how I found these guys. This is a Mountain Mike's reproduction skull. This is the first reproduction skull that I ever messed with. And for the money, it actually looks pretty good. These things are only 25-30 bucks. Super easy to install the antlers on one of these things, and they do a good job for what they are. But they do have a hard plastic look. They come together in two pieces, and when you set it next to a real deer skull, they look kind of fake in my opinion. So I started searching for a higher quality replica skull, and here's what I found. Alright guys, so the next product I found was this replica skull from Wyoming Wildlife Productions. And this one actually does a really good job of looking super realistic. However, I had a couple of problems with this one too. Number one, it's too yellow. Number two, it looks like it's hand carved in a few areas instead of molded, which there's just a few spots on here where I can tell it isn't an actual skull. And my biggest problem with this is that they don't make different pedicle sizes. The pedicle sizes on this are huge, and the antlers that I'm working with oftentimes are small. You can see it's just way too small for where this would line up here. And I couldn't find an easy way to size these down and make them look good. I tried sanding on them. I've tried using a wire wheel on them, and I can sand them down. It would just take a massive amount of time and a massive amount of energy, and I just thought there might be an easier way. That ultimately led me to this, which is the Outlaw Skulls reproduction. Now, ultimately why I decided to go with this one and why I decided to make a video is, one, it is as realistic looking as the Wyoming Wildlife Production skull in my opinion, but it's wider, and the pedicles, although they don't look as good now, are made out of a softer plastic, so they're going to be a lot easier to sand on, and the pedicle bases themselves come in different sizes. I was actually able to measure across the antler and get a pedicle size that matched this, and all I'm going to have to do to install it is drill this and stick it in the antler, stick it into here, sand anything off of here to adjust where I want my antlers, and glue everything in place. Should be a relatively simple process. So let's get these antlers on this skull. First thing we got to do is put a hole in this antler big enough to tap our metal dowel rod in there. I use a drill bit slightly smaller so I don't have to use glue on this part. I just take a small hammer and tap that bad boy in, and it is rock solid. The drill is round, the dowel is square, so they go in there really tight. The next thing I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time and get these antler bases where I need them to be. I'm mostly going off of memory here, but I'm sticking the antler in, seeing if it has the right angle, and using the sander to adjust if it looks off. Take your time, do this right. This is the part that probably takes the longest. On this particular instance, I needed a little bit more room inside of that antler base, so I took the drill and just wallowed it out a tad. Once I got the antlers exactly where I want them, I'm going to stick them in place by using just a little bit of hot glue. That cavity inside the antler base isn't very big, so it doesn't take a lot of glue. I just hold each side in for about 20 seconds. Doesn't take very long, and this is where you want to spend, a little bit more time making sure you have it exactly where you want it. last thing I'm going to do here is apply a little bit of gap filler. It's like a white caulking that comes with the mountain Mike's heads. Doesn't take a lot, fills the gaps, makes it look super nice. And obviously if you didn't have this, you could just use like a regular caulk. Well guys, we got our antlers mounted to our replica skull. The process was not that difficult at all, and I think it turned out looking really, really good. I typically would have, like if a customer brought me a deer, took tape and went from brow to brow, tine to tine, tip to tip, to make sure that the measurements and the integrity of the antlers stayed in place. But this was antlers from a deer I killed a long, long time ago, and they had long since been removed from the skull cap, so I just put them together based on memory and photos, and I think I did a good job getting really, really close on this one. But the next thing I'm going to do is mount him on a plaque, and if you're interested in purchasing a plaque like the one I'm going to mount this deer on, I actually have those for sale. If you go to the description of this video and hit the link for my shop, it's going to have links to a plaque like this one and tons of other plaques that I make for European mounts, turkey tail fin mounts, and all kinds of stuff. So make sure that you guys check this out. Let's get him on a plaque, and then we'll close this video out with my final thoughts on everything. The plaque process is pretty simple. I use a drill bit, put a hole in the back of the skull where I want the screw to go in, and then I'm going to run a screw through the back of the plaque into the skull, position it exactly where I want it, and give it one final tighten. Alright guys, our antlers are all mounted up, and I gotta say, I really like how the way this thing turned out. As far as replica skulls go, this is definitely my favorite one that's on the market, and in my opinion, it's one of the more realistic ones, and it's probably the second easiest in terms of mounting. This project from start to finish did not take me very long, probably I'm going to say 30 minutes to sand the pedicles bases down where I needed them to do, glue the antlers in, let it dry, and then mount it to this plaque back here. There was a few aspects of this project that made it a little bit difficult. The hardest part about this project was actually mounting the antlers to the pedicles, right? Drilling the antlers in and tapping the rod into here, that wasn't that hard at all. The hard part was that the holes in these pedicles go one way, and for these antlers I really needed them to kind of turn this way, and I only have so much room in here to work, so it was kind of hard to get the angle on the antlers that I needed to. What I ended up having to do is take a drill bit and kind of waller out those holes until I had the space that I needed, and then they don't, in my opinion, leave you a lot of room in here to put an adhesive for the antlers to go on. I used hot glue, and these are super solid. They're not coming off. On a bigger animal, I would probably use Bondo Seal or something like that. But for these antlers and how tiny they were, hot glue did the trick really, really well. Super happy with the way this bad boy turned out. Well guys, that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the video. Do me a solid. If you like what I'm doing, make sure at this time you smack the subscribe button. Definitely like the video, and for sure leave me a comment, especially if you want to see me do a certain type of video. Make sure you drop that in the comments below. If you guys like this plaque that I got this skull mounted on, you can find this guy and tons of other plaques like it for deer and turkey in my shop, and I've got my shop and a link in the description below. Any purchases made there directly support the channel and really, really help me out. So that's the end of this video, guys. I really do appreciate you watching. I will catch you in the next one.